How you doing? I'm Colin Stanley of Friends of Merlin Woods, and I'm here today with Jim Higgins, our Heritage Officer for the Galway City. And we're just going to talk about the work around the castle that's going on at the moment. So maybe Jim, you can give us a history of what you've been involved with the castle so far.
All goes back to at least before I became Heritage Officer, because some damage had been done at one stage and some bulldozing had been done around the site, and we had to get that resolved and so on. But there has been a history of antisocial behaviour, but hopefully now, the way we're aiming is to get the castle back into some form of public use or access, and we're hoping that will solve the vandalism project. Now, the more recent events, there was a big pipeline put in this area as well, yes. And of course that necessitated more archaeology. Martin Fitzpatrick, the archaeologist, did an excavation out in the far side of the castle and found a medieval house there. He also excavated towards the front of the building and found what's called a soft house, the outer defence and part of the bomb wall. More recently again, there was a conservation and management plan done for the three castles.
Yes.
And those three castles are Menlo, here at Menlo, Merlin Park or Dowishka, and at Terryland. Now that was funded by the Heritage Council as well as Galway City Council and the Wall Towns Network. So a lot of people are involved. Now this particular castle is actually owned by the state, even though it's on City Council land.
Yes.
The other two are in City Council ownership. So we have to try and strike a balance between the built cultural and natural heritage and make sure that all of those are protected. The councillors, by voting for the implementation of the conservation and management plan, then put money towards that plan.
Very good.
So what we're doing is we're effectively implementing a plan which the councillors have approved and which is a policy document of Galway City Council.
Brilliant.
And the policy is to preserve and to conserve the three castles. As I said earlier, we have to strike a balance. We have to make sure that the built cultural and natural heritage are all protected. There was, for instance, a white orchid in this area.
Yeah, the small white orchid. So we just explained about that. So that's it's our only protected species of orchid, isn't it?
That's right.
In Ireland.
You know, the thing about it is that it was somewhere here in the vicinity of the castle.
Yeah.
I think by cutting back the growth even here now,
This
for
will
this
be,
particular project,
yeah.
I think that this helps to some degree. It may come back. You know, it's unlikely that it would completely vanish unless the bulldozing went right down to bedrock or whatever. But as I say, we're trying to strike that balance.
Yeah.
Now, with the castles, we have to engage with the National Monuments Service, we have to engage with the National Museum, because excavation might be involved, for instance. And we also have to try and inform the public and to create a public access to the building.
Yes.
So, in doing that, what we're doing here today is we got what's called a Community Monuments grant for 2020. We've got one grant for the Spanish Arch and another grant for the castle, the three castles. And what we're doing is we're getting Heather to do some geophysics.
Yes.
She's also doing some LiDAR. What that will do is that will inform where any paths might go, where any landscaping might take place in the future. So that to make these places accessible and to be used by the community in a safe manner, that you will have proper access routes, you'll have proper landscaping and proper access into the building.
And of course all our biodiversity studies over the last 8 years will inform, and will help to inform that as well.
Well, this is one of the reasons why I was so delighted that the Friends of Merlin Woods got an award from the Heritage Council. I'm particularly glad of that, because we have done so many projects over the years
Yes.
that have knitted very well together
Yeah,
in trying to protect the bats, in trying to inform people about the range of biodiversity that is in the woods, and the significance of the fauna and flora, not only to the woods but to the interior of the castle, to the curtilage of the site.
Yeah.
A castle isn't just a single monument from corner to corner.
No.
It is a building which has a curtilage. The curtilage needs to be protected from development in as much as that is possible. And, there's no doubt that, we have a bat roost here.
We have, yeah.
We have a significant bat roost.
The brown long-eared bat was
And we have, and the same is the case at Menlo, Menlo Castle and at Terryland. So it is a big balance to ensure that intangible cultural heritage, built heritage, natural heritage, that they're all protected.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And this is the aim. The other thing about it is that the castle and all three castles have an educational significance.
Absolutely.
And
if we go back even to the archaeology field school that we did with yourself and Martin Fitzpatrick.
Well, the field school is going on now. It's still going on, and it goes on every year. And the thing about it is that it has a great awareness and enthusiasm in the community. And I think that, in a way, helps to solve the vandalism problem to some degree, in the sense that, there will always be certain people who will vandalise.
Always, yeah.
But I think when the Three Castles project ends, and it won't end for another 4 or 5 years, maybe longer, when the conservation has been done, I think that it will benefit everybody in the area. I think as well as that, people often think, we've been given a grant to do this. And they imagine that just because you're given a grant, that this can be done overnight.
Absolutely.
But, if you look at the bodies that have to be informed, the state has to be informed. The Natural Parks and Wildlife Service, the Heritage Advisory Service, National Monument Service, the council itself. We have to work in cooperation with Stephen Walsh in Parks. We have to work in cooperation with the community wardens who facilitate access to the place and so on. We have to work in conjunction with the community, also with the Heritage Forum. And anything that we do is actually solidly and legally based, because it has been approved by the councillors and it is council policy. Any actions of the heritage plan that are implemented with regard to the castles have been approved by the councillors.
Yes.
So the councillors, in voting for money, should ensure that that money is topped up from year to year, so that we see the project out, and that that money won't be cut, that we see the project out. We're getting to the stage now where we will soon have conservers on the scaffolding. Even in this COVID year, it's easy for conservation work to be done at a social distance, because you have masons working, highly specialised masons working, and they're able to do that on their own or in very small groups. It's just the nature of the work.
Yeah. No. And can you tell us, so far with the funding, say, that came for the castle at the moment, like how far will that take the project, and what would be the next stage after you've used
the funding? Some of the funding was there was a large tranche of funding given initially, and some of it was taken back. But as I say, you need to maintain the momentum, and you need to just because a grant has been given, it doesn't mean that the place is going to be attached and wallpapered within the year.
It's a
long process.
Yeah.
Say, for instance, we have divided the three castles. We have divided the work into phases. And the first phase is to do the urgent work which is necessary for public safety and the safety of anybody going into the castle. The castles have to be, initially, we have to concentrate on what makes them safe and solid and sound, and then in phase 2 we can do the work which has a lesser urgency to it, and in phase 3 we can do the other work, and then eventually we will be doing the landscaping, we'll be doing the signage, we'll be working out what the approach will be to to getting people to enjoy and
to utilise
the place and so on. So it is a long process. I can imagine that this will be going on for another 4 or 5 years at least, and that's just the nature of the work. But I'm glad to see that in recent days we've got an increase in funding for heritage in general,
great to see.
Which I think is, we've been sort of starved of decent funding for a while. But it's necessary, and it's necessary after COVID. We will have tourism, but we don't do this just for the tourists. We do it certainly. Tourists will come along and enjoy places like that, but the community need to be able to come along and enjoy it as well.
Yeah, and we're surrounded by colleges, schools, so all of the work that's done here, whether it's the historical or the biodiversity work. Well, it all feeds into those systems, and we link up ourselves as a group with the different schools and universities. So
exactly.
It's actually means it's a free resource for them to use as well. It doesn't cost them anything to walk down the road to it.
And the enjoyment of walking in a place with nature. It has the health benefits. I see you wearing the gore there.
I've been involved with the Nature for Health walks.
Nature for Health walk.
10-week walk. And
this heritage. It's not just buildings. It's also intangible heritage. It's culture. It's being out in the landscape. It's interacting with nature.
Yeah.
It's interacting with fauna and flora and built heritage and castles and so on and so forth.
And it's that sense of place.
It is the sense of place.
When people have that sense of place, they really love.
Not only that, but it's the stories. It's the
stories
folklore.
behind it. Yeah.
It is the place names. It is every aspect of that. And it's you just cannot hive off a heritage building and say, oh, well, that's the extent of it.
Yeah. Oh, no.
It's not the extent of it. It has a setting. It has a curtilage. Yeah. And there are buildings here. There are plants here. And there's a community living around it.
Absolutely.
All of those aspects have to be taken into.
These houses here behind us are so lucky. What a view every morning, and they all love it.
Well, to be able to, anybody would love that, wouldn't they?
Wouldn't it? And even when you're coming down Ballyban to see the view, that gives you some kind of get up and go in the morning, I think, to look out and see that, and also people see foxes and maybe squirrels and things running across, or, they're close to wildlife where it is. So it's important to remember those things that are important to
people. It is. Well, as friends of Merlin Woods has pointed out many a time, and this is one of the wonders of the city.
Absolutely, yes.
And an open space is not a waste space.
Oh God, no. We've seen that from the meadow, with its 60 different species.
You begin, when people talk about, there's a lot of waste space there or whatever, you could build houses here and there or whatever. That's not the case.
Not here, anyway.
Space is what a person needs around themselves. Space is what a building needs to breathe, and what a community needs as well. Because you have to have recreation areas. You have to have woodland. You have to have places where you can commune with nature, as the expression goes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's what we always try to tell people is within a woodland you have many different habitats. The green space feeds the woodlands. If we didn't have this green grass here, we wouldn't have the species in the woodlands.
Oh, well, everything is
and it's the linking up of all those things that we've got to get people to understand, how habitats link. And it'll be fantastic to see the castle done. Eventually, because I think it's such a beautiful castle, it's a lot of history behind it as well.
People sometimes use the word eventually as if it's such a thing that's on the long finger. It's not, it's a process.
It's a process, yeah.
And the process is long because it involves engagement with all, to use that phrase that I hate, stakeholders.
Stakeholders, absolutely.
But the people involved is the nicer phrase for that.
Yeah, and I think the more engagement and openness, we try to be as open as possible about what's happening. And that's why, we said to Jim today, can we get a few words from you? Just explain to us, what is happening with the castle. what was the process? And thanks very much, Jim, for doing that.
I think I've gone over my limit of a few words.
Yeah,
then
but sure,
again,
that's good.
It's hard to put a love of heritage into just a few words.
No, I'm sure we'll have more.
As
Thanks
you
a
know
million.
yourselves.
That's brilliant, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Friends of Merlin Woods.
Thank you.